Hello, everyone. This is the interview series Joy is the Essence of Success. And today I'm here with Rachel Archelaus. And I just want to jump right in, Rachel. Do you agree with the quote? And what does joy mean for you?
I absolutely agree with joy is the essence of success. I think if you don't come from a place of joy, if you're trying to create success without joy, you're going to find that there's something missing. So even if you get money or fame or, whatever success means to you, if it doesn't come from the place of joy, you're just going to feel empty. And I've had some of those experiences for sure. I think everyone has. And what does joy mean to me? Joy is like a feeling. I don't know if it's necessarily an intellectual thing. For me, I feel it in my body, normally around my stomach area, and then it radiates out. And for me, there's just something about the situation or the thought or the person that makes me feel that way. So sometimes I can't predict what will give me joy. I can cultivate it on my own if I try, if I just sit there and I connect with joy. But it's definitely a feeling that shows me I'm doing something that I'm connecting with.
Yeah, great. Could you, you've been an entrepreneur for some years. Could you bring us back to when you started and what, like when you leapt into it, or did you do it more gradually?
I did it really gradually, actually. It's funny, when I was little, I always knew that I wanted to be my own boss. And I think it was just because I knew that I just couldn't sit at somebody else's desk all day, for 8 hours, 9 hours. And also that I had something different to offer the world. And so I knew that wouldn't really fit in with working for somebody else. But it took me a really long time to get there. So even though I knew that's what I wanted to do, I was, an assistant for a long time, like an office worker. I had a lot of regular jobs where I'd answer people's phones and type up their letters because I didn't know how to make my own thing. I didn't know where to look. I didn't know what to search for. And so even after I started doing intuitive art at a little bookstore in my area, it still took me like 6-7 years to actually start my own thing full time. So in that lead-in, I had time to kind of get comfortable doing sessions with people. I got comfortable receiving money for my work and seeing myself on a flyer, like being marketed. And so I think that was my baby step that I needed in order to have the confidence to go full-time. And when I went full-time, it was absolutely a decision.
Yeah.
Like I saw back that, in the last 6 years, it didn't just magically turn into something where my calendar was full and I'd had all these clients. I realized no, I was making like 200 to 500 a month for 6 years. And if I didn't do something different, it would stay that way. And so I realized, okay, I have to decide to do this. I have to figure out what I don't know. I have to learn what I don't know. And then I have to do it. And that's really how I got into the whole, having my own business.
Yeah. Could you talk a little about what you did differently, you started to do differently when you kind of decided I'm going for this?
Yes, actually, that's where I met you. So the first thing I did was I hired a business coach that actually didn't turn out well. That was a whole story in itself. And this really taught me the biggest lesson of my entire business. I hired this woman who was very, very successful, making like $1 million a year. She was also psychic. And so I figured that's perfect. She knows how to make money and she's psychic, so she'll get me.
Yeah.
But from the moment I hired her to the moment I stopped working with her, I didn't make anything. My entire revenue went away. So even though I had regular clients monthly up until that point, nothing came in. And I think it's like an energetic thing where I changed because my coach gave me new words to use. She gave me new things to put on my website and new things to call myself. And I gave all my power over to her instead of using my intuition. And so that was a big wake-up call. That lasted about 6 months, even though it was supposed to last a year. Yeah. And so once I, kind of learned that lesson, I realized, okay, I need to figure out what's right for me instead of just having someone tell me. I need to learn. And I took a branding class with Christina Morassi where I met you. And I didn't even know really what branding was. I didn't know why I needed it. I didn't know anything. So I was just really following my intuition at that point to like kind of steer me in the right direction to figure out what I do need to know. And that class turned out to be so mind-blowing and helpful because she helped us connect with our own inner guidance of like what our businesses look like and what we should talk about in marketing, and how you need to build a bridge to your clients. You can't just use your own wording, you have to use their wording. And so that was really like the beginning of learning about how to be a business.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that sort of the mistake to hire this coach for a year actually turned out to your benefit, because I feel now your business is kind of built on your intuition, very solid.
Yes, and it's funny because the whole time that's what I've always been teaching, intuitive development and to stand on your own. And so for me to have made that mistake so early on is just really funny.
Yeah. And I know you use your intuition a lot in your business, but I often find it challenging to balance the intuition with planning. Like, could you talk about how you manage that dance between those?
Yes. So I have always been averse to planning. I don't enjoy it. I think even when I try to plan things, that nothing ever really sticks, because I am so intuitive like that, like you. However, with publishing a book this year, that takes a year of planning, because certain people in the industry need it like 3 months, 4 months ahead of publication. So I had to have lots of schedules. I had to work with a lot of, my designers, like they all needed it at certain times. And so when I slow down, then I find that I can plan. So if I'm trying to do too many different things, then planning doesn't work. So for instance, like I'll have a general idea of when I want to launch new things in my business. In the beginning of the year, I'll kind of map out like, all right, maybe September for this and, December for that. And so I have a generalized plan, and then I see how the year takes me and if it's still fitting in. With something like the book publishing or something where other people are needing things at a certain time, I will make sure that internally it still feels right to have that schedule. And if it feels right to have that schedule, then I'll make sure that, I'm organized around that. But if it doesn't feel right to have that schedule, then I'll feel free to move it and I won't feel badly about it. So it's kind of like having the plan, but then still checking in to see if it's the right plan.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I feel it's freeing to listen to your how you do it. So it's great inspiration. And I also, when I look at you and your business, it feels like you're one of those soul-centered entrepreneurs that also are able to kind of create a container for your gifts so they can be shared with others. Does that come naturally for you, or do you have to kind of work on putting it together?
I think because I've always done something so intangible, psychic development, intuitive art, intuitive development, writing poetry, visual art, I've had to find out how to talk about it with people. And that really started for me as a teenager, trying to describe how I was experiencing the world to my parents, because we lived in a house that had a lot of like spiritual activity in it, and they couldn't see any of it, and I could, and so I had to use their words in order to describe it.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from that place where I've always had this experience of living where I see more than other people, and so I need to be able to communicate that. And so I really feel like having those containers helps me a lot, because then I have to do less work.
Yeah. So
when I don't have containers, it's like being in a puddle, like a fish in a puddle is not very happy. So I need to build a structure around myself so that people can understand me, and that way I can swim around more easily.
Yeah. I also see a lot of female entrepreneurs struggle with being visible. And when I look at your videos, it feels like you're very confident and you have a lot of fun doing them. Have that been a learning curve, or does that also come from your practice of telling people how you feel?
Well, it's all of that. Like, I remember when I decided I wanted to make videos, it was definitely a choice. And I thought that because, first of all, it's easier for me to just talk than it is to, like, try to explain myself on paper. Yeah. I love to write. I love writing so much, but it's not for me about explaining things. Like, writing is more about expressing, and talking is where I really feel like I can connect with people.
Yeah.
And so I knew that I would be good to make videos, but I'd never made them before. And so I remember setting up my camera for my first video ever. I was like sitting in a chair. I was like all hunched over. I was really nervous. And I knew, though, that I just had to start. I had to do a bunch, and I had to, like, just get over the phase where everything sucks and I'll get better.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough to give myself that permission. A lot of people are just afraid to start because they think that if the first are bad, they'll all be bad.
Yeah.
But that's definitely not the case.
Yeah.
So, and then after I did a bunch of them, people really responded, and they kept telling me that they love my videos and that, they're inspired by them or whatever their story is. And so then I knew to keep going. So I think it was a decision. It took a lot of learning curve. I still don't edit my videos in a fancy software. I still don't add a lot of extra stuff in them. I just kind of show up and film it and then edit it a little bit and put it up. So yeah. There's room to grow, but I think they work.
Yeah, they do definitely. And I also was curious because it felt so natural for you to do the videos. So I think that's a smart marketing strategy to lean into what feels like the easiest for you. Like if writing is hard, then do videos and vice versa.
Definitely, yeah. And even if it doesn't feel easy at first, if you're curious about it, if you have that internal knowing or nudge to do it, then keep going because it will get better.
Yeah. Do you have any daily routines that keeps you on track or in alignment that you have to do?
Yeah, I probably have a much different day than what most people think, because a lot of people, well, it depends on if I'm traveling or not. If I'm traveling, then I am normally busy because I'm driving or on a plane or visiting friends or something. But normally when I wake up, I will lay in bed for a little while and kind of put on a vibration that feels good. So the last 2 days, it has been, love and prosperity. So I just lay there and I feel those feelings, and it's like I've just given myself $1 million. You know, I just feel so good and grounded and rich and happy, and so I'll play with different vibrations each day, whatever I feel like. Sometimes it's creativity, sometimes it's joy, sometimes it's expression, and I do that, and I really feel into it. That when I get up out of bed, I take it with me. And then some days I'll do some yoga in the morning, and some days I will like really meditate on my meditation pillow. But the only thing I really do every single day is in the morning I do that, and then in the evening before I go to bed, also while laying down, I'll talk to my guidance. So any questions I have for my higher self, I'll just ask at that time, or my guides, I'll connect with them. And then throughout the day, you know, various things go in and out. I love essential oils. I really love dancing and singing. And so I do that pretty much every day, just to different things. Yeah. I like to draw and write poetry as like downtime and refueling. So I do that most days.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's cool. And I recently watched you going on a trip with Grude. Could you tell about the idea behind it and how you experienced it?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I just want to say I experience things like ahead of time. I will have these obsessions where it will seem like a distraction. So for the last 3 years, pretty much, I've been looking online for a camper van or a tiny house or a yurt or whatever, some kind of small living situation. And I mean, it kind of took over. I'd go on Craigslist, which is like our little search, classified ads. I'd look for what was available. I'd go on YouTube and watch, you know, videos of people who have camper vans and travel around. And that took up a lot of my time, and it was like a little obsession. And then it took me a few years to actually find one and buy one, but then I did last summer. And then a couple months ago, I just went on my book tour on the East Coast, and I decided to drive my camper van. So I went away for about 7 weeks, and drove across America and back. And I went up to Canada for Soul Art Day, and it was just amazing. And to your question about planning as well, I had a very loose plan. I didn't even know I was going to be going up to Canada when I left Arizona. And so I had a few planned events, but then my schedule kept filling itself in. So it's like once I took the leap and decided to go, all these other things kept falling into place. And I feel like that's kind of what happens when you live intuitively with a plan, like with action, you know? And it was amazing. I really loved it. I loved sleeping in it and waking up in it, and really being able to get off the highway and go hiking if I felt like it, or visit a waterfall, or, you know, just eat dinner by a lake. It was incredible. And I definitely, I'm going to do it again pretty soon.
Yeah, that's cool. I feel like being an entrepreneur, the journey is the best self-development tool you can get. Have you experienced that yourself? And can you tell a little about how your growth have been?
Holy cow, yes. It's like I'm one of those people where I will do anything for my like spiritual journey. Like that's why I'm on earth. I'm here to grow. I'm here to expand and become more enlightened, and that's my thing, right? And yet having a business has helped me do that more than anything else, because it's pushed me to challenge my thoughts about myself. So one good example is like I was always really shy as an adult. I mean, terrified to talk to people and having to go and give talks and teach classes, something I wanted to do but was terrified to do, helped me get over that, and it helped me open up and be able to talk to people and connect with people. So my first classes, I mean, I was just looking down the whole time at my notes, so much so that people in the class told me to like get rid of them. They told me to get rid of my notes so that I would actually look them in the eye.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrible, but having a business made me do that. And so that way I got better.
Yeah.
I was also really, really, really frightened of having, discovery sessions with people for the first time because I was afraid of selling and I was afraid of being inauthentic and I was afraid of being greedy and all of those things that I think we encounter when we start a business.
Yeah.
And then when I did some discovery sessions my way, I realized I loved them. I love connecting with people and hearing about what their challenges are and what they want to create for themselves. And it was so fun. And I figured out a way to do it that honors them and honors me and honors their higher self. And so it didn't feel icky at all. And I never would have done those things if I wasn't in business. I would still be like a scared girl working for somebody else, filling out somebody else's paperwork with ideas of doing big things, but not actually doing them. So yeah, it's like the kick in the butt I needed to like grow myself.
Yeah.
And it's still doing that. It's like it's still making me do things I'm scared of, but I'm seeing how it pays off every single time in such big ways. And then when you're over the fear, I look back and I'm like, well, what was I afraid of?
Yeah.
Right? We're just like expanding and getting through our own little demons.
Yeah. During your time as an entrepreneur, have you ever thought about now it's enough, now I'm quitting?
My partner is so supportive, and he asks me that all the time because there are challenges. I've cried because I've felt lonely during this process. I've had little meltdowns at times because it can be definitely overwhelming. It can be challenging. And he would totally support me. Like if I wanted to just do nothing with my day, be like a homemaker or whatever, he would be fine with that. He would actually probably enjoy that. But it's never been a serious thought of mine. I could never not just. There was a time a couple years ago when I went back to college and I finished my degree and I didn't work. I didn't do any of this stuff. And I was totally miserable. Like, I loved school. I loved where I lived. I loved my garden. I loved all of that. But without this interaction, without talking about all this stuff, without serving people in the way I do, I'm just not happy. So that's probably why it's probably just, it's not time yet, or maybe it will never be time to let it go.
Yeah. When you work, when do you have these moments of, oh yes, this is so, this is what I'm supposed to do? Like,
it's like most of the time. I mean, like this I love being interviewed, and I love talking to people like you. And when I'm with a client in a session, I feel that way. When I'm making a video, I feel that way. When right before this, I was in one of my Facebook groups for a program that I run, and the woman was complaining that the exercise I gave them this month made her feel mad. And I love that because now I'm excited to make a follow-up video for her.
Yeah.
I love everything I do. I love, like it's pretty much 90% of my day I'm like totally in love with.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What visions do you have for your business moving forward?
My wish is that I continue to grow and expand and am open and authentic with all of the changes that are happening with me, because I grow really quickly because I take a lot of action, and sometimes I feel like, why do I keep changing everything? Like, I've had a lot of different incarnations of my business. I've had a lot of different programs that I've offered, and I've had different perspectives for people. And sometimes I feel like it's just too much. Like I keep talking about new things all the time. But that's just another fear that I need to get through, because whenever I do talk about new things, people seem to really respond well. So, it's just to keep being honest, really.
Yeah. And if you should give 3 advices to other soul heart centered entrepreneurs, what would they be?
Choose yourself first. So base your programs, the way you talk to people, what you do in your business, your schedule, how you express yourself around you first. Because if you have that joyful connection with yourself, then everything that you do will get a better response. You'll be much more magnetic. And I know that's the point of this whole series, so that is awesome. The other one is, it's a little different. Don't let the expectations of other people around you skew your own idea of success. Like, you can work a lot. You can work really hard and make a lot of money. Or you could work a little bit less, make a little bit less money, and be way happier. And it doesn't have to be like that. You can work less and then make tons more money. But don't just sacrifice yourself for someone else's idea of success. So always check in with yourself and make sure that it's ideal for you. Let's see. Third, develop your intuition so that you can make decisions easier. The closer you are to your higher self or your intuition or God or whatever you call it, the easier it will be for you to make those really authentic decisions that will align you with your own joy and your own fulfillment. And so having a daily practice around that, around connecting with your intuition, whether that's meditation or intuitive art or walking in nature or, whatever it is, that will really help you, because as an entrepreneur, you have to make so many different decisions every single day. Yeah. And if they're easy to make and you always know that you're making the right decision, the mental fog that lifts will just be incredible.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you. And where can people connect with you if they want to know more about your work with you?
You can go to intuitiveart.com, and that has info on our free class and intuitive art shows and stuff. And then if you also go to Zephyrus.com, which is really hard to say and horrible to spell, that's my blog. That's where you'll find all my videos and information on me and working with me. Yeah. And if you want, I'll spell that really quickly. It's SEPHYRUS.com.
Yeah, I can include the link below as well. So
awesome.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for connecting with me. It was great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This was amazing.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.